These are the very best car collections in the entire world, and today we're breaking them down. So stick around for the reveal of which I think is at the top of them all. Over the last 15 years making videos, I've been very lucky to travel the world and lay eyes on garages and museums that represent a lifetime of work, passion and collecting. From the latest and greatest hypercars to following very specific themes and showing them to the world either online or in person. Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel. These are the world's best car collections. We're going to be taking a look at literally billions of dollars worth of the best cars out there. I'm going to break this into a few different categories, starting with the hypercars, the likes of the Bugattis, Koenigsegg's and Paganis. Then we have the themed collections, which follow the specific personality of the collection's owner. We also have the museums that have gone from being private collections into a venue that you can visit as well. Plus, we have the all-out epic best of the best coming up. Do comment as we go which is your favourite from each of these collections, but having been lucky to visit so many around the world, from North America, all throughout Europe, to the Middle East, the Far East, you name it, we have a ton to take in today, and I hope you're going to agree with my choices as we get a little bit further on. But don't go anywhere, you don't want to miss any one of these amazing collections from around the world. To get things started, we're heading to the Pet Cave. This is the private garage of my friend Pet Fred in Miami, Florida. Not only does he have some amazing cars, but over the last few years has built this dream man cave. It's got all of the lights, the screens, there's the upstairs to take a look down at the cars. And talking of them, the flagship models in the Marlboro livery, that famous Formula One inspired racing livery. We have the likes of the Ferrari F40 and the McLaren Senna GTR. Plus he's acquired a P1 GTR and plenty more coming in the future. But not only that, there are also the stealth supercars, finished in satin black with yellow headlights, the Lamborghinis, the Black Series models and plenty more. But better still, Fred actually takes these cars frequently to different events, on rallies, and travelling all over with them. We're going to head much further to the east for our next one though, Adil's Garage in Kuwait. Not only are the colours amazing in this secret underground lair under the lights with the mirrors, but Adil is one of the few owners of all of the Barchetta hypercars. We're talking the Ferrari Monza, the McLaren Elva, the Aston Martin V12 Speedster, and the Mercedes SLR McLaren Sterling Moss, which we actually took out for a sunset drive in Kuwait together the first time that I'd ever driven one. That's not all though, there are even more in the collection, including the Ford GT and the Koenigsegg Regera in some amazing colours. We're going to go even further east now though, to Mr. Miura's collection in Tokyo, Japan. A collection you might have seen a few times. I visited back in 2018 and I love the view from the office area upstairs looking down over the cars below. All of the legendary Ferrari hypercars, multiples of them in amazing colours. The likes of the yellow Ferrari F40, a silver Ferrari Enzo, the F50s, plus a Lamborghini Raventon, a Lamborghini Miura, and even a Lamborghini Formula One car as well, of which there are only a handful in the entire world, plus an extra second storage to show even more of the cars in the collection. We're going to jump to a friend and a familiar face, Manny Koshpin in California. Now Manny's just taken delivery of his Bugatti Bolide, but he also has this new setup, this new garage where he showcases his legendary and epic hypercars, all in amazing specs, the one-of-one Hermes creations, and his love for the SLRs with quite a few different models, including the HDK that we took for a run out together as well. We're going to go back to the Middle East now. The Space DXB. When the Space popped up a few years ago, the world couldn't believe this amazing collection. We're talking multiple Bugatti Divos. We're talking many of the latest hypercars to be introduced, all presented in one space quite literally that feasts your eyes, that is jaw-droppingly stunning to behold all of the different cars, the colours, but not only that, it's also a collection that features a location with a whole venue set up for sports, for other opportunities, for other events as well. We're going to go to some other friends of mine, the Triple F collection. I'm sure you know Jason, Jordan, Dave and the team very well. They love their cars, they love hosting events, they love getting everybody involved in what it's all about, sharing the spirit of these things, with a collection that features all of the different McLaren hypercars, the Speedtail for example, the P1 in blue carbon, you name it, plus some more, the likes of the Paganis, the LaFerrari, and enjoying these cars, driving them, making videos, sharing them as well with the world through their channel. Another collection in Connecticut, the Show Stables. Now this has moved slightly since I went to visit. It was quite a few years ago now, but I remember being blown away by the Aston Martin Vulcan and the matching V12 Vantage S with the same livery, but it also featured the Holy Trinity at a time when that was so exciting. The LaFerrari, the P1 and the 918. But not only those, plenty of other cars tucked away and I think pretty much unseen prior to that point. So a special opportunity to be able to go and take a look. We're going to go to a big hypercar collection now that has evolved significantly since the time I was there. Don Huayra in Mexico City. Now, like many other garages in this list, cars have come and gone since I was there. Some have grown, some have shrunk a little bit, and this is an example of a collection that has been expanding at an unbelievable rate. But it's not only the hypercars, with the glass windows looking out over the valley, it's the mixture of different cars, the classics, the American muscle, so much more in this garage of cars that are frequently driven, often with the latest being delivered and getting it out there as one of the very first, and a really special opportunity to be able to take a walk around. We're going to pop back across the sea, back to Florida, into Miami, to Iconic, the garage of my friend Barry Skolnick, this display of amazing cars and artwork to go with it all. The cars presented against the white tiles with the bright lights, music in the venue, an amazing place to host events as well, and a collection that is really quite out there, from the likes of the Apollo IE, to the Maserati MC12 Corsa, to driving the Spikers we took out together as well, but also featuring the lineups of Ferraris and Porsches and plenty more. We're going to cross to the other side of the US though for the 10th of the Hypercars list, Dan Amai in California. Over the years, I've filmed many times with Dan and his amazing particular collection of Paganis, driving the Zonda Cinques together. Also the Zonda Tricolore that features in his garage, the Koenigsegg Regera Honey that I featured as well, the Speedtail, plenty of the hypercars, again, often found at different events, heading out, being used, being driven, being enjoyed, and being shared, sharing the passion for what these cars are about, as so many on this hypercar list all do. So that's 10. Which of those is your favourite before we go on from here? Collections come and sometimes collections go. A change of circumstance, a generational change, and as such, I visited a few collections in the past that no longer exist in the format that I got to see them. One such example is the Lingenfelter collection in Michigan, in the north of the United States. When I was out in Detroit, Ken Lingenfelter showed me around his amazing garage that at the time featured some of their own products, of course, the Lingenfelter cars that they've made, and many different classics, but also a few hypercars, the likes of the LaFerrari, the Enzo, and a Lamborghini Rabenton. I believe maybe the LaFerrari still remains, but some of the others, including the Enzo and Rabenton, have now moved on to new homes around the world, along with many of the other cars from the collection. If we cross the border, we head into Canada and to the Dare to Dream collection. This is a private garage unlike any other that I first visited a long time ago when I was out in Toronto for the build process of my Ford GT, and I was lucky to visit, although that was strictly off camera, until a few years later, shortly ahead of the sale through RM Sotheby's of the entire collection. It's not only the cars though, it's a collection of collections, the unbelievable assortment of sneakers and the history behind trainers from the brands like Nike. Then you have the model cars, the Ralph Lauren Amalgam collection, the books, the memorabilia, all of the other things that are on display in this stunning room where you pop some little booties over your shoes to make sure it's kept clean and tidy. Inside you find the Ferrari hypercars, some special liveries on the McLarens, and some classic Ferraris amongst so many others in a truly astonishing place. The third I want to mention, I recently visited the White collection in Texas. This was in Houston, Texas, again, shortly before the sale with RM Sotheby's of the entire collection of white Porsches. Cars with incredibly high MSRPs, but covering just about every different generation from Porsche and some of the most special, most incredible models that they've made over the years completely. The white collection is not only the cars as well, but also the different bits of memorabilia, all of the stockpile of things that link to these cars and to their history. But amazing to see so many of these collections and to be able to mark that point in time before the cars have ventured on to new things. I always appreciate when a collection shows the passion of its owner, when there's a theme, when it's very clear what that person is really into. So our next category are, of course, the themed collections. And we're going to begin with one I know you are familiar with, Ferrari collector David Lee. David's unbelievable dual Big Five, both the red Ferrari Hypercars and the yellow Ferrari Hypercars. I think the only person in the world who has put all of that together. Now, of course, back at the time, the likes of the 288 and the F40 were only in red. The others are very, very rare as well, but what a sight it is to see all of those cars, but not only those, also the classic Ferraris, the new models as well. I've filmed a number over the years with David, including recently his Competency Only Aperta, but to see them all and to know that he takes them to the events like Monterey Car Week is really, really cool. We're going to head though to Europe next, to Germany, and to the garage of 72 Stag Power. Now this was a special one because these are the cars of the Jägermeister racing team, the bright orange cars that I'm sure you've seen at classic racing, and the family that was originally behind it retaining a number of them in their own garage as well. These are all cars that raced, all cars that featured in period, and to be able to explore and uncover some of the stories and learn with Oliver was really special to take them in. The BMWs, the Porsches, the different race classes, because they competed and took part in so many different things. We're going to go to Dubai next, to the Mille Miglia collection. This is a kind of half shop, half collection, because you go in to visit where they sell some amazing dioramas, but have all of the cars around, with the Porsche room, for example, the 918, Carrera GT and other models, but also then the Ferrari collection featuring everything up to the LaFerrari with mannequins to make sure that you're doing what you should when you're there visiting Mille Miglia. I want to take us back to Florida, to the garage of Pablo, Squadra Lupo. Pablo is one of the most amazing people that I have ever filmed with. His passion and enthusiasm for his cars is unlike any other. We're talking a garage that on the one hand has a Zonda Revolution and a Huayra and a Carbon Series 4 GT, a liquid carbon even 4 GT, and on the other hand has some amazing rally cars, the RS200 and RS500, E30 M3, 190 Evo 2, a complete mixture of different cars, but very much focused on racing, on motorsport, on rally cars, and on using and driving them. Pablo takes them to different events and he features the cars and gets them out there. Another collector I visited recently, again on the Ferrari front, is Lewis from the Gentleman's Garage out in Texas. Very much the Ferrari theme, but focusing on interesting colours. F40 blue, for example, the Porsche Aqua Blue Ferrari F40. He also has a Giallo Modena Ferrari F50, LaFerrari, and building the collection out with even more acquisitions and purchases as well. For the next one, something that I found really special. When I was in the Netherlands, I went to Porsche Gelderland. It's a Porsche dealership where there is the most amazing private collection as well. A collection of Volkswagen Group cars, the Porsches, the Audis and the VWs, but one of everything that's special and significant. You know, one of a Polo Harlequin, one of an Audi A1 Quattro, one of an R8 GT, all of the different models, the different Audi RS models, everything in one space that, to be honest, is the kind of collection I could walk around just endlessly. All of the different Beetles, you name it, all there at Porsche Gelderland. Again, a Ferrari collection. There is definitely a thing with collecting Ferraris. We go to Garage 26 in Miami, Florida, and the almost museum-like presentation of the Ferrari models. The collection has expanded even more since I got to go and visit and take a look around, but really and truly some of the best Ferrari cars, all in these amazing storage rooms up above the ground floor, taking a lift to get the cars up there, but to walk around and take a look at some of those, plus the Porsches as well. I shouldn't forget that there are some pretty amazing Porsches and roof models that feature at the Garage 26 collection as well. Now, one that I also visited about a year ago, didn't share on my channel at the time because it wasn't quite prepared, but is now public, is the collection of the Moulsdale Foundation in Glasgow, Scotland. This is a collection of over 400 cars, many different Fords, and many modern classics. It's a lineup of different special Ford models, recent Ferrari models, limited edition models, lots of fun individual cars, things that you and I would love to go and hop in and take out for a drive. But not only those, because there's also a Lamborghini Sian and a Pagani Utopia and some very nice hypercars that fit into the collection as well. And I love these collections because, as I say, they show what the owner is interested in. He's gone down that path, he or she has gone down that path, and that is what they've chosen to build the collection around. When talking about collections, there's always going to be a bias, right? Each of us has an individual preference. What we like maybe more than something else, and for me, that's often the modern supercars, the modern hypercars. But I particularly like getting to know the owner and understand what makes them tick, what's built this collection, what inspired it, where did it start, where did it begin? And we're yet to get to the most amazing of the amazing, so stay tuned for all of that. But obviously, up to this point, we've had lots of hypercars, we've had lots of the themed collections, and there will be plenty more that I've not included, and I will touch on some of those as well. Maybe there'll be even more to feature on the channel in future. Of course, the collections can be found on our platform exclusive Car Registry, where you can find out about these and plenty more, but I want to continue with some more that stand out really to me. While I might have called my garage the Schmuseum, it's not technically a museum, it's a private garage, but I would like to talk about the museums that you can go and visit, because there are some amazing places out there. Now, of course, each of the manufacturers, the OEMs, have their own setups, whether that's Ferrari or Lamborghini, or Alfa Romeo is a particularly good one. In Germany, you have Porsche, Mercedes, BMW. There are plenty of incredible places, but I want to talk more about the ones that perhaps you wouldn't have known. And to start this, we're going to the Patina Collective. This is a garage in Boca Raton in Florida that features some amazing 80s and 90s Mercedes-Benz models. In fact, just about every Mercedes-Benz model from the 80s and 90s, with over 300 cars. The guys are so amazingly knowledgeable and informed on the cars, and I visited just before the museum had opened. They have a new venue now, but at the time we took a look around at these really quite out there creations. They have many from Brabus and Rentek and Koenig, lots of different colours, lots of different specs, lots of wide bodies, lots of modifications, the eccentric era that was back then before the 2000s. The cars also that have celebrity ownership status from the Sultan of Brunei we'll touch on, Jamiroquai even, 190 Evos, so much to dive into. We're then going to head up East Coast to Rhode Island and to the Audrain Museum. Now, the Audrain Museum also hosts the Audrain Concourse and plenty of other events, but the collection is displayed over a few different venues, from the public museum that features the cars on rotation to some of the storage areas that I was lucky to visit and be able to take a look around, where not only do we have modern supercars and hypercars, bright colours, Bugattis, the kinds of things that I'm normally drawn to, but we also went to take a look at the classics, where we have Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance winners mixed with American muscle, mixed with lots of different Porsches, lots of American cars as well, and such a huge variety, many of which are then put on show on display in the museum itself. We're going to hop back down the coast to Florida for somewhere I went to visit recently, the American Muscle Car Museum in Melbourne, Florida, just outside of Orlando. Over 500 American muscle cars, featuring I think 29 Ford GTs. Now, of course, the GT is close to my heart, and with an Alan Mann Racing original GT40 on display, surrounded by the 05 GTs in every colour that they made, and then all of the different modern generation Ford GTs as well, in just about every different spec you can think of. But that's not all. The most stunning display of PTS Porsches, the paint to sample colour options that were available, all the way through different pace cars, for example, the different collections of classics, and so many more in one single, very, very large span collection that absolutely blows you away. We're now going to fly across the Atlantic to Europe, to Switzerland, to the Autobau Museum. This is one that's open, I think, only once a week or so, but I actually didn't really know about until I kind of turned up and checked it out. Not only do we have hypercars like the LaFerrari and other Ferrari models presented in one room with two different floors, cars up above the others, but head through and we have the racing area. In fact, a little bit of the inspiration for the track that I then put into my own garage on the flooring, as seen here at Autobau, with the different race cars around, plus Formula One cars aplenty and some very special memorabilia that flanks all of it over in Switzerland. I think a big part of that for me was the surprise, because in Switzerland there are some amazing collections, but a lot of them are very hidden, not necessarily shown in the way that they might be in the Middle East or over in the United States. We're then going to go to one of my favorites, the Shelby American Collection in Boulder, Colorado, home to so many of the most epic Ford and Shelby cars that have ever been made. We're talking the GT40 prototypes. We're talking the open-top GT40. We're talking Carroll Shelby's original cars, the first cars that he ever made. We have cars that raced at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, that famous 1966 victory with cars that were on the podium. We then have some cars from Ken Miles, so many different special Cobras. We have the winningest Daytona Cobra, the one that won the most races of any of them. This is a collection that is absolutely astonishing. And it's a person's collection that's being put on display. And that's what makes all of these, I think, really special. These are basically individual people's collections that they've made it possible for others to come and see and to share in and be part of. Similarly, the Tiriac collection in Romania, outside of Bucharest. Ion Tiriac, the tennis player, has gone on to be a very successful businessman. His collection features a huge variety of cars again, from the modern hypercars like the Monza, the Stirling Moss, the 918, the F40, through to so many different classics, an amazing display of Rolls-Royce Phantoms, for example, including some that are very bright and out there, and so many other cars in this sweeping cylindrical venue where you're looking around at the different aisles and the different rows. We're going to fly back to the other side to the US, to the Marconi Museum in California. The Marconi Museum is not only home to a Batmobile, but also some of the ex-Brunei cars as well. The Ferrari FX, for example, a really interesting car, a 456 Spider, but not only those, one of my favorites, the F50, and so many other cars that grace their halls as well. An unusual one I'd like to talk about is in Monaco. The Collection de Voitures Prince de Monaco, the royal collection in Monaco effectively, that not only features cars to do with the history of the famous principality, but also Formula One winning cars, the likes of Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, different rally cars, racing history, in a really stunning museum that's only recently opened right there in the harbour in Monaco. In fact, you can be walking along and not even realise that's there, but I thoroughly recommend, if you ever go to Monaco, that is a place to stop by and take a look. These are all museums that you could visit if you went to those areas. Before we get to the creme de la creme, the best of the best, the absolute top of the pile, which you're not going to want to miss, we need a few honourable mentions, because while I've been able to share many of these collections with you over the years, I've also visited some that I haven't been able to take a camera into. We're talking collections in Stuttgart, Germany, Austin, Texas, in Chicago, Illinois, even in Mexico City, all collections that would certainly feature on this list if maybe we can revisit them in the future. Now, there are tons of collections around the world. You can find many more on ECR, but considering I'm here in the UK, my base is in the United Kingdom, there are even plenty here on our shores that we've never seen on the channel. The likes of Fanch Racing, who keeps the cars with Joe Macari and often drives them in central London. The likes of the 250 GTO, McLaren F1s, Bugatti Centodieci, some priceless classics and race cars, and even a Le Mans winner as well. Then Horsepower Racing, the collection of Paul Bailey, who I've filmed with before as well, but also has a growing collection of Ferraris, hypercars, and takes them to plenty of different events. Then we have celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay. Gordon's recently been spotted in his latest acquisition, his Aston Martin Valiant, but he's often driving in central London with the new Astons, Ferraris, and other special models. We have my friend Andy74B, who's had some amazing cars over the years and is building a new garage as well, maybe one to visit in the future also. We have Henningham Hall, which I find very hard to pronounce, the collection of the family behind the Tax the Rich channel channel from back in the days and hosting the Henningham Concourse these days, where there are some amazing cars on display. They've had some extraordinary stuff in the collection over the years. Of course, my friends at the Sing Collection, I recently drove with during the SED Secret Meet when we had the record parade, and they've recently taken delivery as well of their new Mistral, the car that took the top speed open record as well. These are some amazing collections here in the UK. Maybe one day we get to feature them on the channel. There are some more collections that it would be totally remiss of me not to mention that I visited, 5 in particular that I want to pick out. The first of those is the incredible, the amazing, the eccentric Mr. Happy Hippie. I visited Happy Hippie in Toronto, Canada. We took a full tour of the estate, and I have never seen anything like it, and nor had you guys. He has transformed his visions into reality to literally build this new street. It's not just the cars, it's the memorabilia, the gas pumps, the buildings that flank them. A collection of some really interesting stuff as well. Cars in very unique specifications, heavily modified. Some have moved home since. I'm sure there'll be some new ones in the future, but I have never seen a garage like it. I've never seen a place being built like that. Now, I visited a few years ago, and I'm sure it's evolved since. Maybe we need to set something up. Another collection I want to mention, which is quite unique in its style, is the Global Car Collection. I visited the cars both in Switzerland, beside the lake, an amazing lineup that was presented to shoot an incredible piece, and also out in the garage in the Middle East. A collection that spans even more continents than that, but truly spread out around the world with some really, really interesting cars, particularly the Ferraris, of course, for me, and a car that I've got on to acquire one of, a Ferrari dealer edition of the Abarth. As well as the Global Car Collection, though, I want to keep us very closely to the European side. We're going to go to Emotion in France, a collection that features the cars kind of on display in a private area connected to a restaurant, so a small museum room. But not only that, another location I went to visit with all of the cars that are in storage that are part of the collection. And this was, again, really special. The likes of a Lamborghini Centenario, for example, and some amazing cars, some amazing modern supercars, and a big mixture of different things to just explore and walk down the rows. I want to go to Texas to talk about Richard Rawlings' Gas Monkey Garage. When I went to visit Richard, we took a look around, talked about some of his projects, all of which are very famous, very well-known cars from the days of the TV show, from now on the YouTube channel as well, and everything that Richard has done with each of those, building their stories. We'll cross back up to Canada to go see Luc Poirier in Montreal. Luc has an astonishing garage of Ferraris. In fact, since I went to visit Luc, the collection has grown even further, and I would love to come back and go and see how that's expanded and even more cars. But I remember at the time, the PTS Porsches and other cars that also featured there as well. I think I had to mention those 5, but it's time now. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please. It is time for the big ones. I've got a list of 6 that I want to talk you through, and we're going to start going through this towards my favourite collection that I've ever visited. We're going to kick off this 6 with Jay Leno's garage. I think you knew Jay Leno had to feature on this list. Jay took the time to show me around his collection, the McLarens, the classics, the stories, and I think a big part of what makes Jay Leno's garage so special is Jay's experiences and his own passion for the cars. He is the guy so many petrol heads dream of being fortunate enough to own such an incredible collection, but he drives them, he works on them, he takes them to places, and we're talking very priceless machinery here in Jay Leno's garage. Not only that, but all of the videos on the channel, the different things that they've filmed. And I had gone to visit actually with my Ford GT when I was out there. Of course, that was a few years ago, and I'm sure things have changed since. But Jay really was very kind to take the time to show me around and to be able to share the collection with you. We're going to go to number 5, and for this, I'm going to pick the Selected Car Collection in Denmark. Now, I visited the Selected Car Collection a few times over the last year or so, and the cars there, if you're into modern hypercars, are out of this world. The pinnacle is, of course, the McLaren F1 GTR, the car that actually I was lucky to take for a drive to never forget, the highlight probably of my entire YouTube career. But that's not the only McLaren F1, there's also the F1 HDK. In fact, the collection spans multiple locations and some amazing cars. We took a full look around the Hypercar display where you have the big 5 Ferraris, you have some of the race cars, you have all of the different Paganis, Koenigsegg's, Bugattis, Aston Martin 177, a who's who of the latest and greatest, and to me, something really, really, really special. And to have the opportunity to be able to drive some of those cars, the likes of the Daytona SP3, the Bugatti EB110 SS Dauer, and so many more with you guys, just makes it even more special as well. For number 4, we're going to go to Bahrain. We're heading to the Collection 1. This is a garage that features the true Holy Trinity, and by that I mean the McLaren F1, the Porsche 911 GT1, and the CLK GTR. That to me is the ultimate trio of cars, and in fact, I got to drive that CLK GTR at the Bahrain International Circuit. It was the most amazing experience in convoy with the others, but that's not all. It's all of the Ferraris, the McLarens, the different hypercars that you can imagine in the garage with the most amazing view down from the balcony over the top of it. Now we're going to go for number 3 on a short hop from Bahrain to Abu Dhabi. You know it, the SBH Royal Auto Gallery. It's been a while since I visited the Royal Auto Gallery, but every single time I have been lucky to enter that hall has been truly jaw-dropping. It's the way that the cars are presented, and then the fact that the cars themselves are all absolute brand new delivery mileage. The engineers and technicians come to the garage from the factories to service them, and while I would be more inclined to take all of these out for a drive, I respect each person's decisions and priorities. But then to look at the cars themselves, you have the special Porsches, you have the special Bugattis, you have the special Aston Martins, the Mercedes and the Ferraris. The presentation of the SBH Royal Auto Gallery, absolutely out of this world. So we're at the top 2, and this is a very, very hard one to choose between. Both of these are in fact museums that you can visit that started as a private collection before they were moved into venues where it was possible to be able to see a little bit more of them. So in second place, we're going with the Simeone Foundation in Philadelphia in the United States, partly because I didn't know what to expect when I went to visit this collection of cars put together by the late Fred Simeone and walked around absolutely beside myself at what I was seeing. It's the largest collection in the world of Alfa Romeo 8Cs, the Mille Miglia winners from back in the 1930s. The winner's circle features the Bugatti Tank, amongst other cars that won at the Nürburgring 24 and other famous races. Then you have the Ford GTs, and we actually took one of the cars out that actually took part in the famous 1966 race. Then you have the prototype of the original Shelby Daytona Coupe, the prototype of the 7 in total that were made. That's not all though, just the line of these cars with so much history in one place, available as a location where you can go and visit, and periodically, I think almost weekly, they take a car from the collection out to run it around in their backyard that you can witness and you can be part of. It's something really, really special, and that to me was just the icing on the cake. So we come to number 1, the one you've been waiting for, one that you might be able to have guessed if you've been following the channel in recent times, but what I'm going to put as the best collection of cars that I have ever been to visit is, in Germany, the Nationales Auto Museum, the collection of Friedhelm Loh, the Loh collection. What an unbelievable place, with hundreds of cars featuring the likes of the CLK GTR Coupe and Roadster prototypes, the different Bugattis, but cars that are each so very special. We're talking the first alloy 300 SL Gullwing of the 29 that were made. We're talking cars that are almost priceless individually, from the special Bugattis to the DTM cars, to a Senna car, a Schumacher car, to the special Ferraris, to the different exhibits. There are so many halls with so many cars, winning Le Mans cars, winning classic cars, concourse winning cars, special winning Ferraris. It goes on and on and on, and I have never seen anything like it. To walk around the halls of the Nationales Auto Museum, for me, was one of the most exciting places to just be able to look. I mean, there are some very unusual things as well, like the Maybach Accelero and the other cars that are there, but just insane. I have very few words to describe what that place is like, but if you ever have the opportunity to visit, go. You have to go and see it. Stop the press. I know what you're thinking. You haven't mentioned this one or this one or this one or this one. There are so many other collections I would love to include. For example, I would love to visit Ralph Lauren. I'm sure you're familiar with Ralph's collection. Rob Walton has the most amazing garage of cars as well, including the Bugatti Atlantic, a car that I actually saw many, many years ago and has recently been on display. And we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, the biggest of the big. I said I would come back to it. The collection of the Sultan of Brunei, believed to be thousands of cars, bespoke one-off cars, recently quite well documented. Again, you can find out more about the collection on exclusive Car Registry, but some amazing one-off Ferraris by Pininfarina, bespoke cars built by Bentley, Aston Martin, you name it, just about everything that you could think of, and multiple of them. Cars that we often didn't really know existed, but recently some more documents and images have been discovered that have shown the collection, and it is truly, I think for myself and many other people, one of the most amazing things to think about and would be the ultimate dream to be able to visit. Maybe one day we can repeat this video and in number one spot will be the collection out in Brunei. You never know. For now, I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody who made it possible to visit these locations, the owners, the curators, the collection managers, because to me, I feel very, very lucky to have been able to see so much. I'm pretty sure I must be one of the people in the world who has seen the most different hypercars and special winning cars and cars with incredible history. And it's always my aim to share that with you on the channel. And it's been quite fun to take a run down memory lane to put this list together for you, to share the world's best car collections. So what do you think? What was your favourite? Have I got it right? Let me know down in the comments. If you like videos like this though, check out the one right over there. But that's it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!